This is going to be a super cool video, guys. You're going to be so excited for this one. It is a game clock. You can't find this tutorial almost anywhere. I know, I tried. I had to make it myself. You have to make it from scratch, but that's good because we're using Playmaker to do it, and that makes it way more customizable. You can change how many seconds will be how many minutes, will be how many hours, how many days. If you want seasons, how many seasons. Do you want a morning, noon, and night? All customizable. And then afterwards, we're going to do weather. So we'll be able to change these based on the weather. We'll have some particle effects over here and a UI up here. You can change it yourself or just let the clock do it. How cool is that? Let's get right into it. Create a new game object. You can call it clock or you can call it time manager. And the first thing that we're going to do besides adding a state is literally wait. Yep, because time requires a little bit of patience. So we'll add 1 second by waiting 1 second. Seconds to minutes. Here we're going to add. So it's not adding anything to any variable, it's not giving you any savable content, nothing the game can really go off of. It's literally just waiting 1 second. So here, you actually have to add the second. The second is a variable. The variable can be compared to another variable. If it's just a number, it's a little bit hard because it doesn't know which information to draw from. So we're going to add 1 second after waiting 1 second. And then to keep the tree moving, you need to do something with it. So we're going to compare it from second to however many seconds you want this to be a minute. And no, it doesn't matter. If you make a variable for this and label the variable here, like you could make a new variable, that's fine. Or you can just type in a number to compare it to. If it's going to be the same your entire game, like this many seconds is always going to equal this many minutes, it's fine. You just type it in. So in our case, we're adding 1 every second. So 3 seconds, because you want a really low number. 3 seconds are going to equal 1 minute. The reason I'm doing a really low number is debugging, you're going to have to go through a huge tree to make sure it's all working. When you're debugging, just keep all these numbers really, really low. In the future, maybe even save the Playmaker template so you have one that's short and one that's your actual game time so you can compare just really super fast. If it's equal, we're going to add a minute. If it's less than, we're going to keep counting. Make sure you add this, it's super important. It's going to have to keep looping around the states to keep adding. If you don't add that, it will just get stuck and your clock will not work. Broken watch. And as a safety net, if it's greater than somehow, add a minute. Click every frame, or sometimes it does get stuck. Surprise, surprise, here we're going to add a minute. So here, if we do add the minute, we've accumulated 3 seconds. We don't want this to keep adding up, like 1, 2, 3, now we're at 4 and it can't tell it to add another minute. It's just going to get wonky. So you have to set the int value of seconds back to 0, and then we're going to add the minute. We'll add 1, and now we need to compare to see how many hours. So we have a minute, and you can't quite see that. So we're adding 1 minute, and then we need to compare how many minutes will equal, like before, how many hours. Again, you can set a variable, but if it's never going to change, just type a number. I'm going to type 2 because we have a life, we need to get on with things. And if it's equal, we're going to add an hour. Connect them to get that annoying red thing to go away. If it's less than, keep counting, loop it around, and greater than, also add an hour every frame. Here, set the int value. And we're going to have to reset minutes back to 0 for the same reason as before. Int add hour, add 1, And here we're going to have several int compares, because we're going to be doing more than just deciding if it's a day reset. So the first thing we're going to do is compare hour to how many hours it's going to take to reset the day. So when you're debugging, you might not want very many of these. I'm going to go with 6. If it's equal, we're going to do a day reset. If it's less than, keep counting. And if it's greater than, do a day reset. Now you want another int compare. If you have times of day, like you're going to be changing between day, noon, and night, actually changing 2D graphics, you need to tell it when to change the graphics. If you're actually doing not really a skybox, but a weather system, like a day and night cycle, you can have it follow your in-game clock to change the speeds. If you guys have one that you could suggest down below, especially free ones or, gifted to me, doesn't hurt to ask, then I can do a video on hooking this up to your in-game system. I might do a following up video on that, but for now, let's just do it this way. So we're going to compare hours, which is our time of day, to 1. If it's equal, it is morning. If it's less than, it is also morning. And if it's greater than, don't do anything. Is morning. So there's a lot of ways to do this. I'm just going to go with a quick and dirty way. Set a bool value, and here we're going to want a new global, is morning. And as I already have another clock, it's not taking it. So I'm going to call it is morning too. Very creative. And this is true. It is morning now.